You've seen the headlines, right? They're everywhere, just flickering across your screen. This constant storm of digital noise. Tax the billionaires. And boom, just like that, the internet ignites. It's this huge emotional flashpoint, a spectacle, where you've got to pick a side, and you've got to do it instantly. And picking a side, it feels right, doesn't it? It feels like we're finally having the one conversation that actually matters.
But have you ever just had that little nagging feeling in the back of your mind? That sense that maybe we're all just playing a part in a story someone else wrote? That this big, loud public fight is actually the perfect diversion? What if all that noise? What if that's the point? What if the debate itself is the trap?
You know, to really see the trap, we have to step outside of it for a minute. We have to look past all the shouting. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at three very different billionaires. Not to judge them, but to find the clues that are hidden in their stories. Think of them like three different portraits that, when you put them all together, they reveal a much, much bigger picture.
Okay, let's start with a portrait you definitely know, Elon Musk. I mean, the public story is just legendary. He co-founds Zip2, sells it, he does it again with PayPal, sells it, then he pours every last cent into Tesla and SpaceX, risking it all to literally shoot for the stars. For a while there, he becomes the richest person in history. It's the ultimate story of American ambition and taking huge risks.
But here's the other side of that story, the quieter part. Take a look at this. On one side, you have the incredible public success we all know about, but on the other, you have the financial strategy. And see, most of Musk's wealth isn't cash sitting in a bank. It's stock. And the whole system is basically designed to reward him for holding that stock, not for selling it.
And that brings us to this absolutely crucial idea, unrealized gains. It's actually pretty simple when you break it down. Let's say your Tesla stock goes up by $1 billion. Well, your net worth just skyrocketed. But until you actually sell that stock, that $1 billion gain isn't considered income, so you don't pay income tax on it. Your wealth can just keep growing and growing year after year without you ever having to write a huge check to the IRS.
And this is what that looks like in the real world. Because Musk was living off loans he took out against his stock, not a salary, his official taxable income was super low. So in 2018, according to reporting from ProPublica, the amount of federal income tax he paid was zero. Not a single dollar.
Okay, let's move to our second portrait and see how this whole theme continues. For this one, we're going to Spain, to a guy named Amancio Ortega. You might not know his name, but you absolutely know his creation, Zara. He started way back in the 60s, literally cutting fabric himself, and built one of the biggest fashion empires in the world from just one shop. A total rags to riches story.
But behind that amazing story, there's another, quieter one. And this one is all about sophisticated financial architecture. We're talking about this incredibly complex web of foundations and holding companies spread out across a bunch of different countries. And here's the kicker, this isn't illegal. It's a system that was deliberately designed to make sure his wealth isn't just stuck in one country, under one set of tax laws. It's architecture.
All right, for our final portrait, let's come back to the US and talk about Robert F. Smith. His story is truly remarkable. He built one of the most successful private equity firms in the country, and he's famous for this incredible act of generosity at Morehouse College, where he just stood up and announced he was paying off the student debt for the entire graduating class. Just amazing.
But again, we see this duality. On the one hand, you have this celebrated public philanthropist. On the other, you have a quieter story about tax strategy. His firm used these complex partnership structures to spread profits across different places to lower the tax bill. And then in 2020, Smith himself settled a personal tax evasion case with the Department of Justice for $139 million. So, okay, let's step back. We've got three different people from three different industries in three different countries. But they all mastered something that went way beyond their businesses. They mastered the game itself. And that's where we need to shift our focus now, away from the players and onto the very architecture of that game.
Now, when you see all this laid out, your first reaction is totally natural. It's probably outrage. It's a sense of, hey, that's not fair. You're probably thinking, they should pay more. We need to close these loopholes. And I get it. I totally get it. That reaction makes perfect sense.
But what if that reaction is the very trap we talked about at the beginning? What if focusing all of our energy on whether they should pay more is actually the less powerful question we could be asking?
Here's the crucial thing to understand. There are two completely different debates happening at the same time. On one side, you've got debate A, the billionaire. It's simple, it's emotional, it's got a face and a name, it's perfect for a headline. But then there's debate B, the system. This one's like a blueprint. It's complex, it's structural, and it's a lot harder to get angry at a blueprint. So,
Which one do you think gets all the attention?
And that is what we mean by the architecture of wealth. This stuff isn't a series of random, accidental loopholes. No way. It is the entire set of underlying rules, international treaties, and incredibly complex legal frameworks that were designed over decades to work exactly this way. It's the very foundation that these massive fortunes are legally built on.
Let me give you an analogy to make this super clear. Imagine there's a factory, and it's polluting a river, making people sick. Our first instinct? Find the owner and fine them. And maybe that helps for a little while. But the factory keeps running, the pollution keeps happening, and 10 years from now, we're having the exact same fight with a new owner. See, the problem isn't just the owner, it's the rules that allow the factory to pollute in the first place. Focusing only on the billionaire is like only finding the factory owner. It feels like you're doing something, but it does absolutely nothing to actually clean the river.
So what this really means is that if we want actual, real change, we have to start fighting a different battle. We have to shift our focus away from the individual people and start focusing on the playbook they're all using. So what does that actually look like? Well, here are just 4 examples of these kinds of structural changes. First, tax wealth as it grows, those unrealized gains we talked about, not just when it's finally sold. Second, get countries to work together on a global minimum tax so they can't be played against each other. Third, and this is a big one, reform lobbying and campaign finance to change who gets to write the rules in the first place. And fourth, close very specific, well-known loopholes, like carried interest for private equity. See? These ideas target the architecture itself.
And all of this brings us full circle. We have this huge, passionate debate that just fills up our screens every few months. But now that we've had a chance to look behind the curtain, what's the question we should be asking instead?
Here it is. This is the heart of the trap. The anger we feel is legitimate. The inequality is real. But that powerful energy can be funneled into a debate that feels like we're making progress when all it's really doing is acting like a pressure valve. It lets us all blow off steam, get angry, and then move on, while the deep, underlying machinery just keeps on humming along, completely untouched.
So the next time you see that headline, the next time this debate sparks up online, I want you to ask yourself one simple but really powerful question. What does this leave untouched? What rules are staying in place? What part of the architecture is just continuing to run in the background while we're all busy fighting? Asking that question, well, that's the first step to seeing the entire board, not just the pieces.